Fred, Daphne and Velma began to approach the house, whereas Shaggy and Scooby steered exactly where they were, still shaking. "Come on guys, I know you're scared, but it's the only way we might actually get some answers around here. And they might at least have a phone we can use. I can't get a signal anywhere. And don't worry guys, we'll be right with you," Daphne said, trying to comfort Shaggy and Scooby, whom still had no interest of entering the house. Daphne then had an idea. She reached into her pocket. "Would you do it for a Scooby snack?" she said as she pulled 2 out of her pocket. Both Shaggy and Scooby shook their heads. "Fine, 2 Scooby snacks?" as she pulled another 2 out of her pocket. Shaggy and Scooby then simultaneously nodded, both opening their mouths out wide in order to receive their treat for bravery. At least it was bravery by their standards. "Those 2 should do a magic act," Velma exclaimed as the Scooby snacks almost instantly disappeared. "If they did, then they'll have run out of Scooby snacks before the curtain even rose," Daphne remarked, as now the 5 of them walked cautiously towards the house, while the others took a minute to decide their actions. Fred, on the other hand, wasted no time at all knocking on the door. He felt that the direct approach was always the best. "Hello, can I help you?" said a man around 6 foot tall, with black hair. He appeared to be young, somewhere in his early 30s. However, his eyes seemed old, like they had seen time pass by and were tired and weary. "Hey, we were kidnapped and found ourselves wandering round here. We were wondering if you could let us use your phone, as we can't seem to get a signal on any of our cell phones," Fred explained to the man. "I see. Well, I'm sorry to hear about your predicament. Unfortunately, there is no landline in this house, but the 4 of you and your dog are welcome to stay here. There's a boat back to the mainland in about 5 hours' time. You can stay here until then. And, my manners, I haven't introduced myself. I am David Ronnie. I live here with my brother and sister, Henry and Emma. I'm sure they'd like the company. It gets pretty lonely here." "Oh, please, come in," Henry said, gesturing for the gang to come inside. "Why do you need 2 locks on the door?" Velma asked David. She was trying to be as polite as possible about it, but couldn't help herself sounding suspicious. They were just here when I bought the house," David explained. "I'm a house renovator. Thought I could turn this place into something that could make a profit. But even after tidying up the place, nobody was interested in buying it. So I decided rather than letting it go to waste, I told my brother and sister that we might as well move in. After all, it is a nice house, wouldn't you agree?" David said, looking for a compliment from Velma. "It's distinctive," Velma stated, for once being stuck on words to say. "Where are your brother and sister?" Daphne asked David. Probably locked themselves away in their rooms at this time of night," David answered. Daphne then pointed out the window. "The sun is only just beginning to set now," she remarked. "Well, they do get tired after their long days. We all need our rest, don't we? And you lot must be famished," David said, trying to turn the conversation away from his brother and sister. "I'm going out to see if there's anywhere on this island I can get a signal, and to see if I can find out who kidnapped us," stated Daphne, unlocking the door and quickly being followed by Fred and Velma. "Like, we'll stay here and have some of that food," Shaggy told Fred as the 3 of them left. Shaggy then turned to David. "Like, where do you keep the grub around here?"
"Yeah, what you got?"
both Shaggy and Scooby asked David. "Well, you can help yourself to whatever's in the kitchen. Oh, and you must try these really hot peppers that we found growing out back in the garden. Be careful though, they're very spicy. Spiciest pepper I've ever eaten."
"Oh, we know,"
replied Shaggy as him and Scooby ran into the kitchen. David followed them in and asked them, "How come you knew where the kitchen was, and about our hot peppers?" However, Shaggy and Scooby weren't listening. They were stuffing their faces in with whatever they could get their hands or paws on, including the hot peppers, which whenever they took one, their faces would turn the same red as the peppers, and enough gasps of air came from their mouths that would give enough thrust for a plane's jet engine. Meanwhile, the rest of the gang were still searching. The swampy woods looked the same in every direction, until Fred noticed a silver object that was sticking out behind a tree. He shouted for the gang to come over. Fred pulled the silver object from behind the tree. Once they realised what it was, the three of them gasped. It was Fred's camera, that Fred and Daphne had last seen sinking into the swamp. What was it doing behind a tree? It was obvious that someone had fished it out, and had done a pretty good job of cleaning the camera. But there was still traces of quicksand that proved the camera had sunk under the quicksand previously. Fred inspected the camera. He found that the tape had been removed. Whoever had found the camera and cleaned it out was only interested in the tape and had left the rest of the camera behind. "Guys, over here!" Velma shouted. She had found a helicopter, not far away from where they'd first woken up on the island. Velma put her hand on the helicopter. It was slightly warm, which means the engine would have been used recently. This must have been the way they were transported to the island. The door was unlocked, and being the curious person that she was, Velma immediately entered looking for clues. However, all she found inside was a license, with no photo to accompany it. The first name had been scratched out, but the surname was very familiar. Reading what she could of it, the license belonged to someone named Mr. Lenoir.